to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing the second final episode of Selling the City. So again, this is the second part. The first episode was out yesterday. If you missed that, then you can head over to that episode that aired yesterday and then come back over here. But this is the second episode of, well, not to confuse myself, but this is the second episode of the Christmas break. So yeah, but let's just jump into the reason that we're here. And that is episode 5 of Selling the City. So Jade texts Eleonora about potentially maybe having lunch the next week to try, I guess, and talk out the issues that they're having. After her showing, Eleonora does text her back saying, well, how about Wednesday? So we're making progress. More on that later. So Gisselle, we're learning about, okay, so I'm making sure I'm understanding here. So there was this listing that someone rich and famous put a bid on, and I guess it's fallen through, if that's what I'm understanding. And now we're trying to find a different home for this particular person. They're not saying the name of the person at first, but then they say, well, it's kind of public knowledge that that person is Michael B. Jordyn. And apparently Gisselle has actually had a situationship with Michael B. Jordyn, aka my girl has had sex with Michael B. Jordyn. So, but there's actually this, I guess, kind of, he's up for grabs now because maybe one of them can kind of help him find the next home that he doesn't have to wait forever on. And here's the thing, just to break it apart. So, as this mentioned, Gisselle has had a situationship. It's been a minute, but they do know each other well. And then the other part is Jordyn does also kind of know Michael B. Jordyn. Seems to be a little bit of an acquaintance situation with Jordyn. But so more on that. So we have Jordyn and Gisselle at this boat listing. It's not what it sounds like. It's actually an apartment building shaped like a boat. I'm not sure if it's actually the same listing. But anyways, they're basically talking about the fact that Jordyn, while at an event of some sort, saw Michael B. Jordyn there and basically talked to him about, oh, here you need to find a place kind of situation. Now, just to put it out there, Eleonora basically said, let the best one win. Whoever can get in touch with him, whoever can get him in another place, it's yours. So it's up for grabs. Just because you may know him, like that's a leg up. It doesn't mean it's the end all be all. So because Jordyn has kind of laid the groundwork, Gisselle is feeling a way about that. She's feeling, I don't know, slighted, I guess. And Gisselle kind of after so just making sure I'm remembering here. Because Giselle's obviously having up on her feel about it. Jordyn's like, what the hell, if we were all there, we all heard Eleonora say what you had to say. But she basically says, well, after I found out, like, I contacted him and told him, like, I had good listings. And Jordyn basically states the obvious and says, well, isn't that you doing the exact same thing you're claiming that I did? Here's the thing. Is Michael B. Jordyn Giselle's client exclusively? Because then, yes, maybe there's an issue here. But if he's actually not your client, he's just someone you've had sex with a few times, then that's not that's not enough to stop someone else from working with him. Like, you don't have dibs on him because you've seen his ding dong. You know what I mean? It's just does not really how this works. Um, Basically, then Giselle kind of says to Jordyn, like, I feel like you're being cutthroat, so I'll have to do the same thing. How about we just calm down? There's enough Michael B. Jordan to spread around everybody, okay? Anyways, then we have Jade and Eleanor's meeting, or lunch meeting. And Jade says, listen, I don't want to be in Louise with you. And I wrote, well, why are you? Because you say you don't want to be in Louise with her, but yet you're talking shit about her. That doesn't make any sense. And she says, like, well, you say all these things to Justin at the lunch after I leave. She's like, well, I felt your energy that day, and like, and Eleanor is like, but you should know how hard this is. People talk shit, It shouldn't be me and you against each other. It should be me, you. Oh, sorry, it should be me and you against the world. Oh, that was sweet. Problem is that I do believe Jade is, how did I say it before, a bitch? So that's the problem. And again, like, I don't have any issue with her hustle, whatever. She seems to be a very hard worker, seems to have accomplished a lot. But it's just, I don't like her. I think that's all it comes down to. I just don't like her. So that's episode 5. Episode 6. Finally, y'all, Steve is back because it's been a minute. While at the listing, Eleonora takes a call from Howard. While they're at this, because I think she brought clients to show at his listing. So while this is kind of happening, she's like, "Oh, I'm getting a phone call. I have to take this." It says Howard. Howard is the chairman of Douglas Elliman, and he's like, "Yep, yep, yep. You Howard. Yep, you gotta go answer that." So basically, just to put this out here, and this will come back in a bit. Apparently, Taylor had asked for a loan from the top, so from the actual brokerage, not Eleonora. She should, first and foremost, have gone to Eleonora because, and I understand where she's coming from with this, it makes it look like she isn't selling. It makes it look like the team isn't selling, which would reflect poorly on Eleonora as the head of that team. So I definitely understood, and I was like, oh God, the amount of conversation you need to have with this girl. And I don't think she's doing anything maliciously. I don't think she has any ill intent. I really don't. I just think she doesn't think through everything, or maybe get advice or how to handle. I don't know, but I feel for her. But I understand Eleonora as well in this moment. More on that later, though. That will pay off. We might have to wait, I think, till the 7th episode. So Jordyn is now at Abby's listing, but Miss Abby had a little bit of a bone to pick with Jordyn. So they are, I haven't really talked much about this, but they have been working on a listing together, and it's the Irving listing. It's technically Jordyn's listing, but she's brought Abby on so that she can help out with it, get the experience, because Abby does have less experience than Jordyn does, especially in the New York market. But it's maybe not quite panning out in the same way that maybe Abby has kind of hoped for. There's been a lot of things where she's maybe felt excluded. We'll talk about it in a second. Things that she feels like, one of the things that she mentioned earlier was being involved with talks with the client. But apparently, Jordyn says that these clients are very picky about who they want working on their listing. They just kind of want to keep it, I guess, very much to the core. So that's why Jordyn doesn't seem to feel comfortable including Abby in talks with the client. Um, which at first I'm like, well, why? Like, how does she fully get it? But then I think we do get answers to that a little later. But it's just this is kind of what's kind of going on. So this particular situation now with this listing was actually going to be a part of the New York Times. I was going to be getting an article in the New York Times. Um, and Abby's like, okay, like maybe this will be the time where I'm going to be included. She's had her issues before all of this, but she's like, okay, but my name for sure is going to be a part of this, right? Because like I don't know. Usually, can't remember how it works if both agents would be included in the MLM, but I believe usually the one listing agent usually appears in the MLM. That's most likely not going to be Abby. It's going to be Jordyn. But it's just she's like, finally though, maybe this is it. The article does not include Abby's name. She was never interviewed for the article. Um, she says at the same time though, I'm kind of happy that I wasn't a part of this article, that my name wasn't mentioned in the article, because the article was shit. She uses a thing here where she's kind of saying, when talking about the listing, the wording that's used is not professional. And she kind of is frustrated with Jordyn, though, at the end of the day, she's like, I want to be included in this listing, and I'm not being included. Um, so again, that's going to circle back around. So Eleanor is having her meeting with Howard, kind of talking about the whole kind of situation with Taylor asking for the loan. She says, listen, I don't know what's going on. But I'm going to work. I'm going to figure it out. And he seems like a very patient person. I think he gets it. She's new to the team and everything, but obviously like something like this really should not be happening. It should never happen again. So, um, the one thing I do have to mention here, I usually don't really focus on you could tell though, because again, this is an Adam DeVello joint here. You could tell the um the fashion in selling the city versus selling Sunset or selling the OC is so starkly different. But this one in the moment look with Eleonora, did anyone notice the gaudy ass, big ass lobster, like full size lobster jewelry thing that was on her dress? I think it was on her dress, or maybe it was a necklace piece or whatever jewelry piece, but it was gaudy. But anyways, Abby then talks to Eleonora. This is the Irving listing is paying off here. And so she's talking to Eleonora about how Irving is kind of going for her, how she feels kind of left out on things, and how the dynamic with Jordyn has been going as well. And Eleanor says, well, when you sell it, your name will be all over it. Like maybe once it goes up on the MLM, or once it gets sold, like you're going to get your part in that. But she says, but I made Jordyn lead. Because again, like you don't even think, like you think, oh yeah, this is right. Like this listing might not have been something that Jordyn acquired on her own. This is most likely a listing that's coming through the team. And Eleonora is the one who, at the end of the day, is making the decisions as to how this is going to go. So she says, I made Jordyn lead, and the decision to have you off of the article was also mine. She's really, like, here's the thing. And do I think Jade is right that Abby is very thirsty? Yes. But I think she is eager to wanna. I don't think there's anything wrong with her eagerness, personally. It shows her dedication, but at the same time, I do think that she does need those moments of being humbled, of no one's against you. No one is trying to exclude you. No one is trying to do that. But where everything is coming from is from the top. These decisions are not just Jordyn's decisions, they are your boss's decisions. And if you had a problem, well, maybe you should have vocalized that sooner. Maybe Jordyn should have told her, because Jordyn really wasn't telling her. I think was really coming across with Jordyn was, well, I'm kind of a control freak, so I want to kind of hold on to everything. maybe partially that's what's going on, but I do think that the biggest thing is it's Eleanor's decisions. So she says, "Listen, I'm your boss. Trust me that I am going to make sure you're painted in the best light." So basically, what she's saying here is like, "Listen, I'm not going to give you a project like this where I think it's not going to work out for you." Whether that's because of the client, whether that's because of the listing, the caliber of that listing, maybe those are the reasons why. I'm going to make sure you're good and that if you're good, I'm good, you know? So then we see Taylor and Peter, that's her husband, at dinner. And this is kind of when we're starting the picture is starting to form of maybe why Taylor had asked for this loan. She kind of talks to him about maybe trying to do fertility treatments again. Apparently, they had done fertility treatments before. It never took. I guess they decided to take a break from that or stop trying or whatever the reasons were. But now she's feeling like she wants to try that again. And this is kind of when I was like, oh, that's what she wants the money for, the loan for. Because as we know, fertility treatments are very expensive. Like I can attest, I'm literally in the very early stages of starting that myself. And it's very expensive and it's nowhere near like IVF type expensive. So fertility treatments are very costly. So I definitely understand maybe why she's asked for this loan. And I can maybe also understand maybe why she didn't feel comfortable telling that to Eleonora. I don't know why she would not feel comfortable telling that to Eleonora, but I kinda understand, like, it's sensitive and it's personal. Um, but he kinda struggles with how kids would work in the issues they currently have. Listen, I don't know if Taylor's idea of trying fertility treatments is a way for her to save her marriage. You're never gonna save your marriage. Children are not gonna save your marriage. It's just not gonna happen. There are some deep-rooted freaking issues with with these 2 that a child can't fix. If anything, a child's gonna make worse. And why would you risk that, you know? Um, I do also wonder if he just maybe I don't know, the way he seems to be with her, the way he kind of acts around her, I feel like he maybe doesn't even wanna be in this marriage anymore, like, maybe he loves her, he cares for her. I just don't know if he likes her. I don't know. I don't know. It's sad to see, but, um, he kind of also makes it about the fact that she works really hard, and it's like, okay, but there are a lot of people who work really hard. Like, I don't know if he necessarily wants her to be a stay-at-home mom, which that's not everyone's experience, but it's you learn to figure it out. You learn to work around those things. I don't think being a real estate agent or any other occupation that is very demanding should stop you from achieving the dreams and goals that you had for your life in the personal front. Um, so she says, like, I have always wanted to be a mom. And she says she kind of, this is really heartbreaking, but she says she blames herself for the reason why it hasn't happened because she feels like the reason it hasn't is because of her addiction. Um, and she says, hearing people talk about fertility issues when they've had their second child or their third child, and honestly, I'm not resonated with anything more because I felt the same way. It's hard because it's like I want to recognize your journey. Everyone has their journey and has their thing. But when you hear people talk about like that, it's like it's not to be selfish or anything because obviously their journey's not your journey, but and I just understood her. And she says, you're sad, or whatever terminology she used about not being able to have your second or third child. I just want to have one. And I I really understood that. I I understand her 100%. You just want to be able to have it once, you know, and whatever happens after that happens. But I felt for her. But Juicer ends up asking her though in this moment, they're like, do you see a world where you and Peter stay together? And she simply says, I don't know. Here's my thing. If you don't know, nor question, or you question whether or not you will make it, do not bring a child to this world, not with him, not with him. Um, because maybe what needs to happen is you two need to deal with your marital issues first before ever thinking of bringing a child into the world. Anyway, that's episode 6. Episode 7. So Jordyn is going to be staying at Eleonora's because her and her boyfriend are taking a break from each other. They're on a break. They're on a break. They are not broken up. They're just taking some time. So then we see it's Giselle's birthday, and she takes the time to say, why can't I see some Madison House? So Madison House, again, it's one I hadn't really talked about really. Because again, we just like with Selling Sunset, Selling the OC, we don't talk about the houses. I like looking at them, but I'm not talking about them. Um, Madison House is actually a listing that belongs to Justin. It's one where I think this is one he has multiple units in. He maybe just has the one, I can't remember. But he really wanted this listing. This listing is very important to him. So this was something that was kind of a thing that happened in one of the previous episodes where they're kind of like, oh, when can we see Madison House? When can we see Madison House? And everyone else has now seen Madison House. He and Gisselle has not. And so when she kind of says to him, like, when can I see it? And he says to her, well, you didn't make the time. She's like, well, that's not true. And he says, well, you canceled twice on me. And apparently, one particular day, he emails her and says, how about today? It was at 9:30 in the morning that he sent this email to her. And she basically said, well, I don't have the time. And that was that. And he says, well, listen, I'm not going to continuously open up this listening to you when you're not following through. Like, here's my thing. You're in Madison, geez, Manhattan. I'm fine, y'all. You're in Madison. We're in Manhattan. I don't know how big Manhattan is, but if it's anything like Toronto, everything is close together. You can usually get to any one place in 5-10 minutes if it's, within walking distance. Maybe 20 will stretch it. And if it's anything kind of like that, of course, these people have drivers and whatnot. Could you not squeeze it in? Like, I don't know. Like, she's from Jersey. She started off in Jersey and made her way into New York with her license. I'm not sure if she lives in Jersey currently, but it's like, do you not, like, can you not, you know, make, like, I don't know if he gave her an exact time, so this is when you can come or whatever. But it's like, come on. He's trying to open it up to you and you can't even follow through. And she then says, okay, but like, why can Steve Gold bring us to his listing, but yet you can't bring me to Madison? And at this point, he goes off. He's like, and you know what? Like, he was being very sensitive for sure. They say he is a very sensitive person, but I understood him because, like, listen. I open it up to you. You cancel on me multiple times. And when I say to you, okay, how about today? I am texting or emailing you first thing in the morning, or roughly first thing in the morning, and you still tell me you can't make the time. I have done my part. It's now up to you to do your part if you really insist on seeing this listing. Are you going to see this listing because you actually have a potential buyer, or are you just coming to see the listing because you want to fuck around and find out? You know what I mean? You're wasting people's time. So he loses it. Why are we throwing Steve into the mix? What does Steve have to do with any of this? It's kind of like, well, if he can do it because he's Steve Gold, why little Justin, can't you make me see that? It's a bitch move, and I didn't like it. I guess I kind of don't like Gisselle either. I don't know. Back at the office, though, Jade and Eleonora are talking, and Jade says, you gave them the keys. You've allowed them basically to feel like they have this massive say or whatever in how things go with the team. And the main thing, before she's saying this has to do with the disagreement between Gisselle and Justin. So she's hearing all of this because this is happening in the office, and she is like, I hear them talking about me, like this is pissing me off. She goes into the office and she's like, I can hear you. So how about I just come in here? We have this conversation now so that, we can just squash this. And she keeps saying, like, he doesn't accommodate anybody. He doesn't accommodate anyone. Bitch, are you for real? We literally saw him say to her while in the office in a previous episode that I've tried to make accommodations for you to come see Madison and you've not shown up. And he says you've canceled twice. I've emailed you, whatever. He's made accommodations for you. You have just been unprofessional, I guess, through this whole thing and not taking said accommodations. And again, why do you feel you are entitled to set accommodations because y'all work in the same office? You guys are friends. This is not how this works. But don't take a, for granted or advantage of someone's kindness. And that's basically what I think she's doing here. Again, she throws Steve in there and says he makes accommodations. Okay, we need to stop using Steve's name in all of this because he has nothing to do with this. And Eleonora says as much as says, but what does Steve have to do with this? Why are we bringing him into this? This has nothing to do with Steve. And honestly, she said, Justin doesn't have to accommodate you. As I was saying, he doesn't have to do those things. He's doing those things because he actually cares about you and he likes you. She kind of says like that's something he just doesn't do. He doesn't have to do those things. You are taking advantage of the fact of, you think he will do these things for you. She then says, I need a break from this, packs up her stuff, and she just leaves and says, like, I'm not doing this shit. This is ridiculous. And it's like, so no one can tell you about yourself? I guess I just don't like her either. I guess that's where I'm at. The journey I've taken. Anyways, that's episode 7. We're on the final episode now for Selling the City, and that's episode 8. So Abby and Gisselle, they're meeting up, and Abby tells Gisselle that Abby tells Gisselle that Jade says, oh god, this is Harry Potter all over again. Or Jade told me about the whole Taylor situation, about how like Taylor was going to come and check out this, development property, and apparently how Jade basically said to Taylor to not say anything to Eleonora, which it kind of has like this underhandedness. Apparently, recently, Jade told Abby that Eleonora is also a hoe. Wow. Okay. I mean, wow. And she says Jade wants us to fail because Jade is jealous. And she said, Justin and Jade do not matter to the family unit. This is what Abby's saying. Now, here's what I'll say. I think she is spot on when it comes to Jade. I do believe Jade is jealous. I do believe she wants to mess up their team. She's pitting everybody against each other because I don't even think it's because Jade wants to have a team of her own. I think she thinks she wants a team of her own because Eleonora does. But I think the biggest thing here is that Eleonora will not have that team where she'll be knocked down back to, status quo or whatever and be just like Jade again. Or if that is potentially what could happen, and then Jade's gonna be like, well, I'm doing better than her now. She can never have anyone be quote unquote doing better than she is. I think it's spot on personally. Anyway, here we are having the conversation about the loan now. So Taylor and Eleonora are at a listing right now. And it is here that Eleonora does bring up the loan. She says Taylor says, she says, I wasn't trying to be underhanded. I don't think she was. She's like, it was more about the embarrassment, which I do think that's what's going on. And Eleonora asked her, like, what is going on? Like, why do you need the loan? And there's something that's been kind of briefly touched on, but I didn't talk about it before here. Taylor says, with her dad being sick, she had to take on the medical bills, or she decided to take on the medical bills, the expenses of that. And then she says, and then also family planning because I want to do IVF. It's expensive. And Eleonora was like, listen, I get it because I had to do the same thing. She too had to do IVF or decided to do IVF. And she said, I can't carry either. Apparently, this is nuts. She says, I was born with one kidney and two uteri. So I'm going to assume she has two uteruses. I think that's what she meant. So I want to be clear on that one, which happens. So I think it's rare, but I think, it's not unusual. She says, I will take care of this. I will cut a check, but you got to give me grace. Something's going on. Talk to me so we can talk about this together. So I think that's great. So now it's Justin's birthday. Not a whole lot really happens here. Gisselle is going. So, so that's a step. Gisselle and Eleonora basically hug it out because they obviously got into it. Justin got into it too. So they kind of fixed things. Because I think her and Gisselle was actually friends before all of this. So, yeah. So the client that Gisselle stuck with is annoying as fuck. She basically, Eleanor has put this potential new client on Gisselle so that she can kind of go through the listing, kind of, give her uh, the practice, I guess, to kind of deal with this. But she was annoying as fuck. The school buses come by here? Is there, what do you mean by private dining area, whatever the fuck? She was just so annoying. Just asking a billion and more questions. Things like the school bus situation. Ma'am, that's something for you to figure out. It's your kid, your school situation. You do it. You'll get your answers. Anyway, we're then at Eleonora's anniversary party for the team. It's been a year. And this is when the drama hits the fan. So Abby is really been stewing through the whole thing, going like, I want to talk to Jade. I want to talk to Jade. She eventually does. She goes to Jade and she says, can we talk? And Jade's like, no, no. But and not even like that, like really and truly terrified. Like, what is she gonna say? And then she just kind of walks away at this point. And Abby's like, well, the truth will set you free, but I guess you don't want to be set free. I don't know. And she's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And she kind of says to Eleanor, stop this. Stop this. Bitch, how about you just have a fucking conversation with the girl? Maybe it wouldn't go here. Again, the reason you're acting the way you're acting is because you know what Abby's going to talk to you about. You know what Abby has to say is truth. Otherwise, you wouldn't have acted like that. You wouldn't, even if I know she doesn't like Abby for reasons that doesn't really make sense. But I know she doesn't really like Abby, but doesn't mean that she can't talk to her, you know? And Abby basically says, like, you're talking about me and my family. And she apparently, Jesus Christ, Jade apparently said about Abby that Abby looks old. And I'm like, wait a minute, what just the fuck? But first of all, Abby's like in her late 20s. She doesn't look old. Um, Jade, I think she's in her late 30s. She looks great, whatever. But what is this you look old nonsense? Like, that's just petty as fuck and was not something she was talking about before. Saying, you tell people I look old. I'm like the crypt keeper. What the hell? Like, so, Jay basically then says, well, yeah, I do think you look old. I did say that. What the fuck is happening? Like, I swear to God, we were literally talking about Jade being a sneaky ass bitch to Eleonora, and then we're talking about, oh, well, you told people that old. Like, okay, so someone actually says, you don't look old, honey. You're fine. Um, so she basically said, will you tell me, um, or she says, Jade, you told me about the whole Taylor situation. And Eleanor's like, what? And she says, if any of, or sorry, kind of going because there's a lot happening. I couldn't keep up. There's just, Jade is just going nuts. She's freaking out. She's like, where's my bag? I'm leaving. Where's my bag? Where's my bag? But this bitch, where's my, she's just freaking. And I can't remember who, I think it was Gisselle, but someone does kind of go after her at one point. And she says, listen, I'm not mic'd. I'm not, well, you are, because we can hear you clear as day, so you're clearly mic'd still. But she says, if any of this airs and goes on, or anything that's on camera gets aired, I'll sue all of you. You hear that? She says, fuck you, Netflix. And I said, oh. Netflix is like, bullshit. I'm paying your check. Netflix is. And you just told me, fuck me? Okay, fine. You look old too. That's what Netflix had to say to Jade. And it was kind of at this point, I'm like, and I'm in. I was in for a bit now, but it was just like, this is pure fuckery and I'm in. But anyways, that is it for this episode, and that is it for Selling the City. That is that for the first show we're covering during the Christmas break. Next, tomorrow, we're going to be jumping in with Young, Famous, and African. At this point, I still don't know if I'm doing if I'm doing 4 episodes, but I think I'm going to do 2 bigger, probably episodes. So because there's only 8 episodes, so we'll do that. In that formatting. So that will be for the next couple of days. Will be Young, Famous, and African. But yeah, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityt times two, all spelled out, dot podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.